Hi, Laasya. Just stopping in to record your video lesson for you. I figure this is actually a good time because it's kind of halfway between your last lesson of the summer and your first lesson of the fall. So what I have for you is this this lesson that I typed up that I will send in an email. I'll also put it in the folder for you on my Google Drive, and we're just going to run through all these things. The nice thing about video lesson is you can come back and watch this as many times as possible. Okay, so we're going to quick start with the scales. So you should have no trouble with C sharp minor and A flat minor because they are in your binder. E flat minor is the next one, and it's a little tricky. So I'm going to kind of scooch my camera here a little bit so you can see my keyboard a little better. Okay, so E flat minor. You start with finger 3 of the right hand on E flat and immediately tuck your thumb to F. And then finger 2 on G flat, A flat, B flat, thumb on B. We're doing harmonic minor, so finger 2 on D and finger 3 on E flat. Okay, so it's 3 on E flat, thumb on F, 2 on G flat, 3 on A flat, 4 on B flat, thumb on B or C flat, 2 on D, and 3 on E flat. So that one actually kind of fits nicely with the 3 middle fingers on the 3 black key group. Left hand is a little trickier. I'm going to start with finger 2 on E flat, thumb on F, cross 4 up to G flat, those 3 fingers, thumb on B. You're going to cross your 3rd finger up to the D and 2 on E flat. Okay, so again, 2 on E flat, 1 on F, 4 on G flat, 3 on A flat, 2 on B flat, 1 on B or C flat, cross 3 to D, and 2 to E flat. Okay, then the arpeggio, of course, is E flat, G flat, B flat, E flat. Okay, so that is what you're going to work on for your 3 scales. Then just continue with anything I signed you from before. I'm going to briefly talk about it, especially Easy Spotlight Solos number 3. But let's look at number 4, chillaxin. So we start with that. The very first thing we notice at the top left is it says lazy swing. Okay, so remember the lazy swing is when you have 2 eighth notes. The one on the beat is longer, and the one on the end of the beat is shorter. So that's the long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, do, ba, do, ba, do, ba, do, ba, do, ba. When you have one tied from the and to the long beat, it doesn't change the pattern. You just kind of have to tie. So the first pattern, you're going to cross with your left hand. Notice it's piano. We have a staccato at the end of the second measure. Then we have a first ending with a repeat sign. So that means you go back to the beginning, play 2 measures, and then you jump to the second line for the second ending. So this one will sound like this. Okay, so getting the metronome going with that, about 80. Do ba do ba ba do ba ba do ba 4. Do ba do ba ba do ba ba do ba. So 1, 2, 3, and. tricky parts of this is to get in the second measure where we have the staccato note, and it has to come exactly on beat 4. So you need to make sure that the and of 2 and beat 3 is tied long enough. The other thing is at the end of the first ending, we have the and of 2 tied to a half note, so you need to make sure you give that all the time. Okay? The left hand kind of continues that same pattern or little bits of that pattern. So after the second ending, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, another first ending. Then you would go back up to measure 7. The right hand has the melody, which means it's going to be a little more interesting, but it has nice long notes, starting with your thumb on a G. Oh, and notice that it starts on an and, so that is your short note. So it's short, long, short. Because those G and A, the last beat of measure 6 is your long, short. So before that is an eighth note, it's the second part. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 2, cross over. 2, 3, 4. Repeat that. Cross. Second ending. So these 8 measures at the top of the second page are the most difficult rhythmically. But I want you to start with the left hand, and I want you to count. Notice that for the first 3 measures, it's quarter notes and half notes and rests. And that same thing is repeated in measures 21, 22, and 23. So the left hand, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. When you go from the measure 17 to measure 18, notice which note is sharped. Is it the top note of the left hand or the bottom note of the left hand? And make sure you are accurate on that one. So then, once you have that left hand really steady, easy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Nice staccatos there. For the right hand, we're going to start at the last beat of measure 16, way down at the bottom of the page before. It starts on a D. So we have that quarter note, and here's our eighth notes tied again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you put that together, what I want you to do is I want you to just tap the left hand, beat 4 of measure 17, and 3 and 4 of measure 18. Don't play it, just tap it on your knees so you can feel those quarter notes and count. 1, 2, so we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to tap those 3 beats for the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Then if you notice in the next measure, we have a D sharp. Play that with finger 2. And then we have an E flat, which we know that they are the same key. That's called enharmonic. D sharp and E flat are the same key because we have a D natural. So to play the fingering, and then that in measure 20, the eighth notes just go between the hands. So let's listen to that part again. from the pickup note to measure 17. Pickup means the final beat before. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And then that pattern happens again. Now move your right hand up. And then it ends with a return to that first section that started in measure 7. The ending is just a little bit different, so I'm going to start, well, I'll just keep going. Pick up to measure 25. Don't be in a rush with this, feel lazy. Chillaxing. Crossover. Nice jazz chord at the end. So when you get to the end, we have those in measure 32. We have the D sharp and the E flat with the D natural again. So it's the same kind of fingering that you did up in measure 19. The ending for the last measure, make sure you have 2 full beats of silence before you play the jazz chord, which is C and G in the left hand, that easy fifth. Your right hand's going to put your thumb on B flat and your pinky on F sharp. So the last 2 measures, 1, 2. Nice and quiet at the end. So that is chillaxing. All right. Again, nice and easy. Think of that as relaxed. Then I think it looks like your page numbers are slightly different than mine. I think you were working on the Wedding March processional on page 59 of movement 2. So remember we have 16th notes. So 4 16th notes are 1 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. If I have, like at the beginning of this, an 8th note and 2 16th notes, that's 1 and a, 2 and 3, 4. So those first 3 notes, quarter note and the 2 16ths, that gets 1 beat. The 2 8th notes on G, on the second beat, also get 1 beat. The third beat is a G quarter note, and the 4th note is a G quarter note. We notice that when those beats happen, we know 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to fit your rhythm in that pattern. So 1 and a 2 and 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, measure 11. Back to the sign on measure 2. Be very careful in measure 8 with the left hand drops down to A and E. It is not C and G. Those kind of a tricky fifth to pay attention to. So I think we worked on this one. Let's look at the Wedding March recessional. Processional is marching in, recessional is leaving. That's the marching out. when people leave. So this one, it's a lot of hands alone work. So the first three measures is basically the right hand by itself. So be very aware of when a note is sharped, which black key is it, because it's very important. If you see a sharp, that you play F sharp there at the end of measure one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Cross over. 1 and 1, 2. Dynamics. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 1, 2. And there's your fine. All right? If you are feeling brave and confident, I want you to go on to the minuet in G. This is a very famous piece. It says it's by J.S. Bach. It's not actually by J.S. Bach. It's from the Anna Magdalena notebook. Okay, so you can read about the Baroque period. Bach, Handel, and Scarlatti were three of the most important composers of that time. So you can look at the pronto prep for the tricky parts. But what I'm going to do is just point out some of the things I want you to pay attention to. Really work on page 63. Don't worry about 64 yet, because that is something we want to work on in the fall. But let's get the first page. It's not very hard. 3 beats per measure. So counting the right hand only to the end, starting in measure 1. 1, 2, go. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. Very important to notice that when 4/8 notes are at the end of the measure leading to the downbeat, you really need to feel that. 2 and 3 and 1. 2 and 3 and 1. Okay? So, noticing the key signature, we're in the key of G, so that means we have an F sharp. So any F you see, for example, in measure 7, there's an F sharp. Make sure you get that. In measure 3, the right hand is going to leap up from, you're starting kind of in a G position. You're going to leap up and put third finger on E, so it's kind of that high C position. But notice the very last note of the third measure is an F. So what does it have to be? It has to be sharp. So here we go. Ready? A minuet in G. The right hand alone with counting. This is very important for you to do. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3. Left hand pretty much stays in that G 5-finger scale. B. Yeah, the left hand doesn't move. The right hand gets to have all the fun here. So, together from the top, the minuet in G. You should really recognize this piece. It's pretty famous. So hands together, starting in a nice G position with fingers nice and curved, but strong and relaxed. Here we go. Jump up, F sharp, octave, cross to F sharp, up, F sharp, all right? So work on that as a new piece. Of course, start slow. You know how to do that. Okay, so the last little bit I have for you to work on. Number 4 says for fun. Choose any 2 pieces that you've worked on in the past 3 to 4 months. Any 2. I don't care. In movement 2, it could be from songs I love to play. Any of the music you've worked on in the last, 4 to 6 months. Pick 2 and really work them back up so that you can just play them easily and feel really good about playing them. Work on dynamics, work on pedaling, work on memorizing them, so that when someone says, "Can you play me a song?" you can go, and you can just play. And you don't have to worry about it and you don't have to stress about it. So pick those 2. Number 5 says review all of your 12 major chords. So you can do these. We've talked about the circle of fifths. C major, then do the inversions. So C, E, G, put the C on top, the E, G on the bottom, put the E on the top, the G, C on the bottom. Really do that in both hands. And remember, when you're doing the first and second inversion, sometimes you have to use finger 2 if it makes more sense. Then do that. That was C. Then do G major. Root position first inversion. Right hand is using finger 2. Second inversion. Left hand is using finger 2. Back to root position. So do all 12. Then you're going to do D, A, E, B. Remember the 2 black keys in the B major chord. You should have all of this in your chord section we worked on. F sharp major, C sharp major, you can also call it D flat major, A flat major, E flat major, B flat major, and F major. Same fingering always for those chords. Then change all the major chords into minor chords. So C major is C, E, G. All you have to do is lower that middle note down a half step to E flat. And then do the inversions again. It's exactly the same, but with a lowered third. We call it the third because it's the middle note and it's the third note of the scale. So when you're doing F sharp major, all black keys, to make it F sharp minor, your middle note goes down to A. So really work all of those. Okay, so that should give you more than enough to work on. If you are feeling like it's too much, you can skip the minuet in G. All right, I will talk to you in September. I can't wait to see you. I've got lots of fun things planned. So have a good rest of your summer. Bye.